Hey everyone, it's John here from Hot Take Hockey, back with another video, and this was just made public. TSN Insider Trading, Frank Saravelli, Pierre LeBrun, Darren Dreger, they had a conversation about what some players in a group chat brought up and are going to maybe propose to have this season still finish at some point and to have the playoffs and have that Stanley Cup awarded. So if you're looking at, the CDC 50 being that max number of an event, I'll call it that situation because I think even if it went to the second week of May, that is still quite a bit. And obviously, playoffs would start in that second week of April, and that's just not going to be the case. So, if it was to extend even farther than that, some of these players have brought up potentially looking at the season to resume in July and there to be a short training camp prior. So, I'm actually going to bring this up, and this is what TSN talked about, Frank Saravelli brought up. So, the training camp in this proposal from again, it's not anything official, it's just what players have been talking about if it did came to that scenario. Training camp in an early July scenario with the last dozen games for most teams. It's in around 12, 11, 10 games for most teams left in around that number. So that would end in late July with the playoffs starting at the start of August. And hopefully if they can tighten it up a little more, that Stanley Cup being awarded at the end of September. So then they would get an off season in October with the draft taking place, the free agency taking place, and it was talked about some of those southern teams not wanting the season to start that early in October anyways, usually, and not to have that many games in October. So to have that off season in October could make some sense, and then 2021 season to begin in November, and they'll have to crunch that a little bit. But if you look at the scenario, they don't start the season until October, right? So it would be a month cut back. That would probably push that season more into April, and then the Stanley Cup would probably take place later June, which is not that bad. They would have to crunch it up a bit, but if you're looking at the scenario, it is very interesting. Obviously, hockey's a lot different than basketball. Basketball, I think, has that opportunity, and it would be a lot easier to go into the summer. It's on the court. We're talking about on the ice. It would come with a lot more planning, and it would definitely come with a lot more thought, but I think it is possible. And there was apparently a governor that was coming up with it saying that it could make sense as well. So I just thought I would come out with a video and talk about it. I think, you know what? It sucks to think that we wouldn't get this season finished in playoffs at all. That is probably worst case scenario. Honestly, that scares me. Like, the fact that we've gone through this whole season, not just for us, for the players, just for everyone involved. This is a lot bigger than sports, but when it comes down to it, a lot of people, so many people are invested, especially at this point in a season, whether it's NBA, NFL, NHL, when it gets down to the crunch time into the playoffs, so many people are invested, and just to cut it off, it's different when either there's a lockout to start the season or when you haven't really gotten to past that halfway point, or even if you were just past the halfway point, but to look at only 10, 11, 12 games left, and it just to be cut off, it was just so sudden. And to have that potential to not have it at all, I think this proposal makes somewhat of sense, because even if we have to wait 4 or 5 months, at least for it to happen, I know the momentum would be gone for a lot of teams, and that would be an issue in a different sense. But to have that Stanley Cup still awarded for all the success for the teams getting in that position, I think that, worst case scenario, to have that season still end and have the playoffs and have that Stanley Cup, I think that could be a worst case scenario. Obviously for me, that 8-week timeline, I would love to see the safety be in the course and to have the playoffs be brought into May or early June. That would even be a while, but obviously they have to be careful. They don't want to look at a scenario where they bring back the season, bring back the playoffs, and Pierre LeBrun talked about this, and a player do get tested positive, and then they just have to end it again. They would have to just suspend it again. And honestly, in that case, they might have to cancel it, because if they brought it back in May or June, say, and players tested positive, the safety there and just the ramifications, they might not be able to bring it at all. So playing the waiting game and being extra sure, again, this is such a fluid situation. We don't know the time. I know people keep hearing that, but the timeline is just so up in the air. We don't know when this situation will be contained. We really don't know. So I do like this scenario. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I just thought I would address this in a video. If you guys missed it, there you go. You know what the players are talking about. It's one of many scenarios that they're discussing. So TSN talked about it because this is definitely a very interesting scenario to have the playoffs start in August an off season in October when the next season would usually start and have all that take place in a month, that would be crazy. I mean, in terms of this channel, and obviously that's a time frame to wait. But I mean, think about the content that would come out. Think about how exciting it would be. I mean, from July all the way to November, you're talking about a season ending, playoffs starting, draft and free agency in a month span, and then right into the next season. That would be intense. So that's something to think about. So thank you for watching. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. Smash that like button. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. This was John from Hot Take Hockey. Have a good one. Peace out. Stay safe.